Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. He is ruthless, cunning and brutally frank. He spent years in exile honing his political skills and survival instinct. My guest today, the former Iraqi Prime Minister Dr. Iyad Allawi, is building a new secular liberal bloc to challenge al-Maliki's government. Al-Maliki's sectarian government has failed, irrelevant, and must leave office, he says. But can Allawi succeed this time? And why should the Iraqi people give him a second chance? Nadeem Baba reports.
A scene from another time, some might say another Iraq. Iyad Allawi became the head of the interim government, promising security and reconstruction. But he didn't have long to make his mark. Half a year later, general elections ushered in a new administration. Fast forward to 2007, and Allawi's promising he can turn Iraq's lawlessness around. Earlier this month, he told Al Jazeera about his priorities if he were back in power.
Dismantling the laws which have been divisive, including de-Ba'athification, including the laws which dismantle the Iraqi military, Iraqi security forces, the Iraqi institutions, and to move away from sectarianism and to get rid of militias.
I think many of the liberal people in Iraq, those who are not sectarian-oriented, will be ready to back not precisely Allawi, but anyone who present an equation that will preserve the Iraqi nationalist identity. And if he will behave in the same way, I think he will win the minds and hearts of the people.
But some minds were made up a long time ago, when Allawi, a former Ba'athist who spent years in exile, cooperated with the coalition. But it's not just his previous closeness with Washington that some took issue with. Iyad Allawi also made political enemies by going along with two major operations when he was interim prime minister. One was the assault on the Sunni city of Fallujah, which reportedly saw hundreds of civilians killed as well as dozens of US troops. The other was in Najaf. The Shia holy city witnessed fierce clashes between US forces and fighters loyal to Muqtada al-Sadr.
He should not have endorsed both the assaults on Fallujah and Najaf, targeting people in a very wide spectrum way. The way which the occupation powers are doing in the country is what resulted what is there in the country now. You know, the hatred which was grown.
But Allawi insists it's now time for the Iraqi government to talk to the various armed groups, and he believes most of the population agree with him. Nadeem Baba for Inside Iraq.
I am joined now from Amman, Jordan, by former Iraqi Prime Minister Dr. Iyad Allawi. Dr. Iyad Allawi, welcome to Inside Iraq. You are very well known for being bold and frank, and let's hope today some of that boldness and frankness will come through at the expense of the politician and diplomat in you. Let's start by the coalition and the new building block that you are trying to achieve. You are on record saying that Iraq needs a secular, liberal, nationalistic government. Will you succeed? Can you really pull it off?
We have to succeed. There is no other route for Iraq but to succeed. I think sectarianism is a manifestation of extremism, and extremism is rejected mostly by the Iraqi people, by the world, by the region. And we are very hopeful that this trend will continue to make way inside Iraq and to build for a non-sectarian Iraqi government that could take Iraq and the region to the shores of peace, stability and development.
Does that mean you are a serious contender to be the next prime minister? Is this really in the cards that you are coming next? Or is this some sort of an American ploy to make you the scarecrow, to scare al-Malikis to do what the Americans want him to do?
I assure you, we respect the Americans, we respect our relations with the Americans, but what we are doing have nothing to do with the United States. It's an Iraqi aspiration, it's an Iraqi action by various people who believe in non-sectarian Iraq, who want to build a national identity worthy of the Iraqi people, of the region, and we want to move forward in this area to salvage, frankly, our country, which is slipping away into catastrophe.
The
Absolutely.
Iraqi president, Jalal Talabani, 2 days ago was saying that we will crush any attempt, any coup d'etat against al-Maliki government. Was he referring to you, or was he referring to other forces in the military perhaps? They have had enough with this sectarianism.
Maybe, I don't know to whom he's referring. I had some good meetings with him in London recently, and indeed nobody of us believes in military coups. He does not believe in a military coup. We don't believe in a military coup. What we believe in is that the bloodshed in Iraq should stop. The slipping of Iraq into complete and full anarchy and chaos should stop, and we should really change the whole political process into an unsectarian political process which believes in Iraq as a wholesome Iraq, as one Iraq, as Iraq which belongs to all Iraqis regardless of the sect, religion or ethnic group that Iraqis come from.
Unfortunately, that doesn't seem possible right now. The very coloration of the Iraqi government is sectarianism. It has become institutionalized, whether it's in the parliament or in the parties or even in Baghdad, your beloved city right now. Al-Karkh and Risafa pretty much is Shi'i, Sunnis. Now people are talking about in these terms. Are you sure that you will be able to pull up enough nationalist Iraqis to say, to hell with sectarianism, it is time to look after our own country?
Well, Jassim, what I can use to convince you and to convince any person who is doubtful that even some of the sectarian forces in the government are now calling for an Iraqi national program to save Iraq from sectarianism.
Why is that?
This is
because they failed. Because they failed to get what they want. Now they say, nationalism perhaps is the way.
They failed. Number one, they not only failed miserably, but the country has been thrown into complete chaos, as you can see. And not only that, the region, what has happened in Iraq is spilling over to the region. And in fact, this is causing a rebound phenomena where people now, even those who bought into sectarianism, now are trying to leave sectarianism and to embark on national reconciliation and a national program for the whole country. This is indeed a very encouraging sign, and we should encourage this. And we are accordingly having dialogue with all members, all parties, all groups to try and bring them to an Iraqi national program.
Having said what you said just now, Dr. Iyad Allawi, still, as an observer from outside, we find it very difficult to say sectarianism will be out, because the very people who are in power, whether it's Skiri, Al-Majlis Al-A'la Lil-Thawra Al-Islamiyya, whether it's al-Tayyar al-Sadri, the Sadrist movement, their grassroots, since 2003, they accentuated this, they built on it, they pretty much invested all their rhetoric and all their political power to create that sectarianism that is, giving them dividend. Now you think suddenly they're going to give it up and say, we are all Iraqis?
Well, frankly, Jassim, there are important issues to remember. Definitely sectarianism across the board do prevail in Iraq, and those who believe in sectarianism unfortunately have been taking the law into their hands. One of the direct reasons once the state of Iraq was dismantled was that people had to revert to their clans, to their sects, to their tribes, to their neighborhoods for protection. And this was a grave mistake committed in Iraq, and this mistake led to various other mistakes that have been committed, leading and paving the way to sectarianism to prevail in Iraq. Now, after a few years of bloodshed, catastrophe, chaos, and damage, refugees, displacements, people have realized that sectarianism is not really the right path for Iraq.
Let's sprint forward. Let's go to 2007. Now you're trying to put this coalition, this bloc, and people in Iraq, they have long memory. People don't forget what happened to them. People, they accuse you for the Fallujah bombing, for the Fallujah incursion. And people in the Sadris, they remember 2004, the fighting in Najaf. How can you get Jabhat al-Tawafuq, how can you get the Sunnis and the Sadris in order to join you? People say he was the man who told the Americans to go after us.
I was frankly even-handed with all those who tried to take the law into their hands. Me, as a prime minister then, I had important tasks to perform. One of them is to build a modern state, a strong state, and to get the army back, the military, the police, and so on, and security. And secondly, really, to tackle the issue of law and order.
Today, of all days, Muqtada al-Sadr, the firebrand cleric of al-Tayyar al-Sadri, appeared. And, you know, he was in one of the mosques. He disappeared for quite a number of months. First of all, how do you look at his reappearance? What does it say? Is there some sort of an agreement between him and the Americans? They are not going to target him?
I don't think there is an agreement between him and the Americans. I think Muqtada al-Sadr was all the way through in Iraq, despite what had been said, that he had fled the country. My information, he was in Iraq. I think his reappearance should give way to engage him in dialogue, in constructive dialogue, like the rest of the groups who do exist in Iraq. And let us not forget that al-Sadr have about 30 members in parliament representing him, and he need to be accommodated. He need to be part of a national Iraqi program, and his people have been very critical of the government, and they have withdrawn from the government, from the cabinet, as well as making the right appeal in the parliament by denouncing sectarianism.
Dr. Iyad, before we take a break, before I take a break, a short answer if you would. Because there is so much accusation against him, especially by the Americans, there is so much blood on him, on his hand. Can you really work with him? Can you really get him into your bloc?
Well, we should not take the American accusation into account by talking to Iraqi people. We should talk to Iraqis, all Iraqis, but with very clear vision that Iraq is all for all Iraqis, and we should all respect the law and order and respect the basic rights of all Iraqis, and refrain from using and embarking on militias, and allow the government, any government, to build the right forces for the country.
Dr. Iyad Allawi, we will take a short break now. When we come back, I'm going to ask the former Iraqi Prime Minister about his views about the Iraqi resistance. Stay with us.